Hey guys, so I know I haven't really been posting a lot of informational content out just because within the last couple of months I really haven't been taking my training seriously, but today I'm actually low bar squatting, and if you guys have been watching my YouTube videos, you know that I just switched to flat shoes, and I've also widened my stance a lot compared to my previous stance on squats. And if you guys don't know the reason, feel free to watch my video I made with Chris Duffin. It's how to correct and perfect your squat. They broke down my squat and saw what was wrong with me and why I needed to go with a wider stance and probably be better off without the heeled squat shoes. But today I'm going to kind of go over the difference between a narrow stance squat versus a wide stance squat. If you guys really want to go into detail, feel free to go watch that video. It should be linked up here. So today I'm going to actually show you both my squats. So typically this is the squat shoe I normally low bar in. As you can see, it has a slight heel. It's not too high like the Romaleos, the Nike Romaleos, or the Adidas ones. This is a Penley shoe, but unfortunately they went out of business, so this is the last of its kind. I'm going to keep this for my high bar squats, but I'm probably not going to low bar in these shoes anymore. Instead, I am going to low bar in my deadlift shoes, the Sabos. I just got them this year. I might switch it to some like regular flat shoes, kind of like these. I might actually wear these instead because I like how it's much wider than the Sabos for squatting. I don't know, I just like the thicker part of this. It feels a lot more comfortable on my ankles compared to something that's really super tight, but that's my personal preference. A lot of people like to go with like their deadlift shoes for a flat shoe. I am also going to be using my belts just because my back has been really sore from the last time I did deadlifts. So yep, I don't want to break my back, so I'm going to use my belts. So let's start with looking at my old competition squat stance. I would squat approximately shoulder width apart and in squat shoes. So once I start squatting, you will automatically see my chest collapse a little bit more forward. It may not be as noticeable without any weight on the bar or from the front view, but as we switch to the side view, you will automatically see how my core breaks down and how my posterior chain also breaks down. This makes it an unsafe position for my spine just because of my anatomy. I have long femurs and a very short torso. In order for me to hit depth in this position, you will see my lower back starts to round. This is also known as the butt wink. Again, this may not be noticeable without any weight, but as the weight increases, or if I were to take a 1 rep max, you would definitely see my core and my chest collapse, forcing me out of position and causing me to lose all my power and all my tightness in the squat. Naturally, I am more posteriorly dominant, therefore my hamstrings and my lower back are a lot stronger compared to my quads. A close stance squat tends to demand more quad activation compared to a wide stance squat. Squat shoes also help aid and force the body into a position to utilize your quads more so than a flat shoe would. However, since I am posteriorly dominant, I am not employing my strengths in a close stance squats compared to a wide stance squats. Here I am squatting in a much wider position and in flat shoes. Automatically, you can see my torso is much more upright and I'm not forced in too much of a forward leaning position compared to when I was squatting in heels. This squat stance allows me to keep my core a lot tighter in the bottom of the hole, whereas it would collapse more with a heeled and close stance squat. As you can see from the side view, my elbows and my back are pretty much parallel to each other, and my lower back
stays neutral as I hit depth. A wide stance squat plays more advantage to someone who has longer femurs and a shorter torso compared to a narrow stance squat, which plays more advantage to a person who probably has a longer torso and shorter femurs and who is primarily more quad dominant. Now let me show you what I mean with this side-by-side clip. As you can see, my chest is a lot more upright with my wide stance squat compared to my narrow stance squat, and I can generate a lot more power out of the hole. And that's primarily due to the fact that my core is in a much more neutral position. The only downfall with a wide stance squat is that you have to be a lot more controlled hitting the hole. You are forced to give up that rebound and that stretch reflex for better positioning. However, you can see that my bar path is a lot cleaner on my wide stance squat compared to my narrow stance, where I tend to dip forward at the bottom of the hole. Not one squat stance fits all, so keep in mind that everyone's anatomy and musculature is different. So one person may be stronger with a more narrow stance squat if they are more anteriorly dominant, meaning that their quads are a lot stronger and they are able to keep their core in a neutral position. Hopefully this video helped in showing you guys what you should be looking for in case you are trying to change your squat stance up. Again, you want to have a neutral spine, you want to make sure your knees are in line with your toes, and you also want to make sure that your core is rigid and it's not caving in at the bottom of the hole and your chest is not falling forward. To really nail down your squat form, make sure you go watch my other video that I have. I will link it at the end of this one. It is a video with Chris Duffin where he shows me how to properly root and how to properly engage my lats during the squat. It's very helpful and very informative, so I suggest if you really want to perfect your squats, go watch that video as well. Alright guys, that is all for this video. I wanted to make it short and simple and relatively easy to understand. So hopefully that explains why I switch personally to flats and a wider stance squat. Remember that one form does not technically fit all. Of course you want the same cues, you know, like have your knees drive out. You want to have a nice bar path, but everybody's anatomy is different. Your squat stance might be different from a person who has longer femurs or who has a longer torso or who has shorter femurs. So it just depends on the anatomy. So just keep that in mind. You don't have your lats loosen up. You don't want to have your core loosen up. So as long as you're in a stance that those two things are solid, then you have a good stance. You don't have to switch. If you are doing fine narrow stance, stick to narrow stance. You don't have to do wide stance just because some girl on the internet told you to do wide stance. But this is for me and how my anatomy is built. A wide stance with flat shoes works best for me personally. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.
Go. Good. And drive your hand in as deep as you can go. And then you're going to rotate it one direction then the other. Sometimes I'll come with my other hand to help. then I'll go into all the way into extension and do the same thing.